We continue to subsidize schools. Even as we look to cut more than $70 million over the last 4 years, we continue to subsidize programs and operations that are not self-sustaining. Are we doing a disservice to our schools by continuing to fund them this way? Next year, when we cut $10 million more, where will we cut? How will we cut? Will we continue to subsidize schools? Why do we not look at the fiscal impact of reducing the number of schools we operate starting next year? I think we continue to do a disservice to our students and families by having a short-sighted conversation. Everybody continues to say, we have too many schools, as though there is some day that's going to dawn and we will have fewer schools. We are cutting in places we do not understand, yet we are still willing to put the same poorly performing schools back on the field next year to produce worse results with less money. So at what point will we say we're not looking at this the right way? Are we still going to put 82 school sites out there for our students and continue to perpetuate students that cannot do math proficiently and students that cannot read proficiently? So I think the conversation is missing an element, and perhaps we're too afraid to introduce that element. So I would ask that we actually look at a proposal that says, is there any savings to be gained by closing 5 schools, by closing 10 schools? So, I mean, why don't we know the answer to that question? I would say let's find out the answer to that question. Then at least we know what we're doing.
Director Harris, I want to thank you because I have been toying with the same thing. You know, we've been going a kind of an incremental approach with the cohort process. And what you're proposing, what I'm hearing you propose is let's just do it. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with. And I think that is a good suggestion. I would support that.
If the staff cannot justify the cost savings of 5 schools closed and the included central office savings, then it's not worth going through this. I've asked for the number of the structural deficit and how much of the structural deficit can be offset by closing schools. When we have that number, we can move forward. But are you willing to move forward without that number?
We won't have information about how much money we can save. And maybe there's nothing, but maybe there's something. So I feel like I don't know, Gary, but I am quite upset at this moment, so I'm going to stop talking.
There's information we still don't even have about futures and Qs, and about Sol and Frick, and about Kaiser Sankofa. So those are decisions we've already made, and they're still not captured fully in the projections that we have in front of us tonight. So I think that's the first step.
I support everything that was said. I feel a little mansplained. I don't know. Like I've been saying, the root cause to this is that we have too many schools, and we have a structural deficit, and I think I said that 2 weeks ago. So maybe we were just all on the same page, but if they hear you, bruh, let's go. I'm going back to what I can't live with. And so there's actually a cut in here around board staff, and so that is like deeply problematic for me.
So what we need you to do, I just heard you say you can't support a cut to board staff, is how will you make that up? What is the source that you will use to offset that?
Reduce number of schools, yeah. I don't know how many times I can say that part. Sell some property, build some housing, generate revenue, market rate housing, where you can actually sell, and collect rent. These are all kind of 3 to 5 year plans, obviously. But if we don't start doing that work now, and we just have too much valuable assets that we could be leveraging. I've heard this from numerous people, from principals to people on the street to whatever, and they're like, if we're going to close schools, do not do this one or two at a time. Like, stop re-traumatizing people. So if that can kind of be a clear enough message, yes, to get to quality. But I'm just with Director Harris. Like, you're incrementally killing my students.